The siren shrieked, splitting the Detroit dawn like a blade through flesh. Bulldozers roared, their iron teeth gnashing at the old factory's bones, a decayed giant in a city of rust and ruin. Dust rose in choking clouds, thick as despair, as I, David Miller, stood at the edge of my latest conquest, a crumbling relic ripe for profit. My phone buzzed, the foreman's voice jagged with panic. 5 kids inside, Mr. Miller. They won't move. My gut twisted, not from pity, but from the sting of delay. Time was money, and I had no patience for squatters. I strode through the haze. Boots crunching broken glass, my mind tallying costs, deadlines, losses. The factory loomed, its shattered windows like empty eyes. Then I saw them, 5 figures, small and defiant. Huddled in the rubble, Ethan, the eldest, barely 16, stood as their shield, his voice raw but unyielding. We got nowhere else to go. This is our home. Those words hit like a hammer, splintering my cold ambition. For a moment, I wasn't the tycoon who owned half the city, but a man staring into a mirror of my own forgotten pain. The dust settled, but their eyes held me, fierce and unbroken. If you've ever stood against a world that didn't care, leave a comment. I've been there. I want to know how many of you have fought to hold your ground in the ashes of nowhere. I was 42, a man carved from hunger, my name etched into Detroit's steel and glass. My penthouse gleamed, a sterile throne for a life spent chasing power, not warmth. I'd risen from nothing, foster homes, cold beds, faces that forgot me before I left. No family, no roots, only a fire to build an empire and bury the boy I'd been. That boy was gone, I thought, until Ethan's defiance dragged him back. His eyes, sharp with fear and fury, mirrored my own at 15, standing against a world that offered no quarter. I'd learned to survive by sealing my heart, turning pain into profit. But those kids, their gaunt faces and unbowed spines, cracked that seal. I was no savior, just a man who'd traded love for control, wealth for connection. My past wasn't dead. It was alive in their trembling hands, their whispered fears. Ethan's words, "This is our home," weren't just a plea. They were an accusation, a challenge to the man I'd become. I stood there, rich but rootless, facing a truth I'd spent decades outrunning. I was still that boy, alone, wanting someone to care. Could I be more than my empire, more than the sum of my scars? I was 12, curled in a Chicago alley, the cold gnawing my bones through a stolen jacket. A cop's flashlight caught me, clutching a crust of bread I'd swiped from a dumpster. His voice was rough but kind. He didn't drag me away. He gave me a blanket, a burger, a moment of mercy. That spark of care was a flame in the dark, but the system doused it, new homes, new rejections. Each one carving deeper the lesson, trust no one. Standing in that factory, Ethan's eyes held that same spark, fragile but fierce. They clung to their ruin. Not for its walls, but for the family it sheltered, Maya's soft songs, Liam's curious stare, Chloe's trembling hands, Noah's quiet fear. My past wasn't just a ghost, it was a wound, bleeding still, urging me to walk away, to let the bulldozers erase their defiance. But that spark stopped me, a whisper of the boy who'd once believed in kindness. I couldn't let it die again, not in them. Not in me. Their home was rubble, but it was theirs, and I felt the weight of my own emptiness against their stubborn hope. What do you do when the past demands you answer for it? I stopped the demolition, my crew gawking as if I'd lost my senses. Ethan's words, "We got nowhere else to go," burned like a brand, searing through my plans. I dug into their lives, sifting through hospital charts and social workers' notes like a man possessed. Their mother lay in a coma, her life tethered to machines after a brutal car crash. Their father had taken a pitiful payout for their home and vanished into the city's underbelly, leaving them to scavenge in the factory's husk. For weeks, they'd survived on scraps. Ethan playing guardian to Maya, Liam, Chloe, and Noah, their bond forged in hunger and fear. Detroit, my city of steel and ambition, had no room for them. The courts ignored their plight. Neighbors turned away, society discarded them like refuse. Their abandonment wasn't just a story, it was a mirror to my own past, a boy shuffled through foster homes, forgotten. My empire of glass towers felt like ash against their raw need. I wasn't just halting a project, I was facing a world that chewed up the weak and left them to rot. The weight of their survival pressed against me, a challenge to the man I'd built, brick by brick, to escape my own scars. I returned to the factory, arms heavy with food, blankets, clothes, meager offerings against their mountain of loss. Ethan met me with a stare sharp as broken glass, his distrust a wall I couldn't climb. Behind him, Maya clutched a worn photo of their mother. Her voice barely a breath. "We just want to stay together." I sat among the rubble, listening as they spoke of her laughter, her warmth, now silenced by hospital machines. Their father's betrayal cut deeper, his absence a wound they carried in their eyes. Liam's questions, Chloe's soft hum, Noah's clinging hands. They wove a tapestry of pain I couldn't ignore. I'd built skyscrapers but never a home, amassed wealth but never connection. Their story wasn't just theirs, it was mine, a reflection of a boy who'd learned to shut out the world. My indifference, my cold ambition, felt like a betrayal of that boy, of them. How could their father walk away from these kids, their fragile hope? How could anyone? If you've seen someone turn their back on those who needed them most, tell me in the comments. Was it cowardice or just the world's cruel way? What would you have done? I couldn't turn away. I called in Karen, a lawyer with a mind like a razor, and a social worker whose weathered kindness reminded me of that cop from my childhood. We mapped a path to keep the kids together, navigating a system designed to tear them apart. Ethan's fierce protection of his siblings was my fire, his defiance a call to act. But doubt not at me. Could a man like me, who'd never known family, be what they needed? I pushed forward, contacting shelters, chasing leads, each step a rebellion against the coldness I'd worn like armor. The kids watched, wary but curious, as I fought for them in ways no one had fought for me. It wasn't enough to stop the bulldozers. I had to build something real, something lasting. My past whispered I'd fail, that I was no better than the father who'd left them. But their eyes, Maya's hope, Liam's curiosity, Chloe's quiet strength, Noah's fear, demanded I try. I was no hero, just a man choosing to stand where others had walked away, forging a path through the dust of my own brokenness. What happens when you realize the fight isn't just for them, but for the soul you thought you'd lost? Weeks bled into each other, and I sat in a diner's grime, legal papers strewn like bones across the table, my coffee cold as the truth I unearthed. Ethan's words, "We got nowhere else to go," clawed at my mind, a relentless echo of dread. A call from the hospital struck like a fist. Their mother's condition was slipping. Life support a fraying thread. The kids didn't know, but the weight of it crushed me, a vision of their faces when I'd have to tell them, their fragile world shattering like glass. I'd been that boy. 13, told my mother was gone, left to choke on emptiness in a foster home's cold embrace. Their loss wasn't just a shadow, it was a storm brewing, its dark clouds heavy with grief. I drove to the factory, heart pounding like a hammer on steel, Detroit's gray sprawl blurring past my windows. Those kids, Maya's soft songs, Liam's curious eyes, Chloe's trembling hands. Noah's quiet fears, Ethan's fierce guard, deserved more than a truth that would break them. My own fear surged, not just of their pain, but of failing to shield them, of being another adult who crumbled under their need. The factory loomed, its rusted skeleton a tomb, and I knew I couldn't hide from this forever. My past, a boy alone in alleys, whispered I wasn't enough, that I'd falter under their trust. Yet their hope, fragile as it was, held me fast, demanding I stand against the coming storm, a man haunted by his own ghosts. Trying to be their anchor, I found them in the factory's dim heart, Ethan teaching Liam to knot a rope, Maya humming to Chloe and Noah, their faces lit by a flickering bulb's weak glow. I couldn't speak of their mother's fading pulse. Not yet. Ethan's eyes met mine, sharp as flint. "Why were you here?" he demanded, voice edged with suspicion. I wanted to claim I was their savior. But the truth was heavier. I was saving myself from a life of cold ambition. The threat wasn't just the hospital's call, it was my own terror of failing them, of echoing the adults who'd left me to rot. I sat with them, promising to fight, my words thin against Ethan's silence, a wall built from years of betrayal. Maya's photo of their mother, clutched tight, was a reminder of what they'd lost, what I couldn't replace. The city's growl outside was a cold pulse, mirroring my old life, solitary, driven, empty. I wasn't their hero, just a man untested, carrying scars from foster homes, from a world that turned away. Their need, Maya's hope, Liam's questions, Chloe's songs, Noah's fears, demanded more than I'd ever given. If you faced a moment where speaking up could break everything, tell me in the comments. Did you stay silent? or stand tall despite the cost? What kept you from crumbling when the world fell against you? In my penthouse, the city's lights burned like a taunt, mocking my resolve. I wasn't just fighting for them. I was battling my own doubt, the voice hissing I'd fail, that I was no better than their father who'd fled. Those kids needed more than promises. They needed a man who could stand against the storm. I swore to myself I'd keep them together, no matter the cost. Their mother's fate loomed, a blade poised to fall, but I wouldn't let it cleave them apart. I'd face the courts, the system, my own history, a boy who trusted no one, now vowing to be someone they could rely on. Ethan's defiance, Maya's hope, Liam's curiosity, Chloe's melodies, Noah's fears, they were my fire, my reason. I wasn't just David Miller, the tycoon who bent cities to his will. I was David, a man choosing to fight for something greater than himself, for a family forged in dust. The city's hum faded, replaced by the quiet rhythm of their breathing, a reminder that this fight, though daunting, was mine to wage, for them, for us. What do you risk when you choose to fight for those who've lost everything? I plunged into their story, chasing truth through a maze of records and whispers. Hospital bills piled like tombstones. Their mother's life hanging by a fraying thread. Their father's betrayal was stark. He'd cashed a meager settlement, leaving debts and 5 kids to fend for themselves in a factory's husk. I sat with Karen, my lawyer, her eyes sharp as a hawk's, dissecting legal paths. She warned me, courts favored blood, not strangers like me. I didn't care. I tracked down neighbors, social workers, anyone who'd seen the kids struggle. Each tale was a shard of glass. Ethan scavenging for food, Maya hiding her tears, Liam shielding Chloe and Noah from the cold. Their abandonment wasn't just a fact. It was a wound, bleeding into my own past, a boy cast adrift in foster homes. My penthouse, my empire, felt like ash against their need. I wasn't just saving them. I was clawing back the humanity I'd buried under ambition. Karen mapped out temporary guardianship, a slim chance, but I seized it. I'd fight the system, their father, my own doubts, to keep them together. The city's pulse mocked me, but I was done running from the ghosts of my own loneliness. Their hope, fragile as it was, became my purpose. A fire kindled in the ruins of my past. The courtroom was a sterile cage, fluorescent lights buzzing like vultures. The judge's gaze pinned me, skeptical, a billionaire playing saint. Karen laid out our case, her voice steady, detailing the kids' plight, their father's desertion. Whispers slithered through the gallery. He's buying a cause, just a rich man's whim. Then, a gut punch. Their father had surfaced in Ohio, sniffing after the settlement money I'd frozen. His shadow loomed, a threat to unravel everything. Ethan sat in the back, his stare burning. Not with trust, but with a challenge. I felt his doubt like a weight, the risk of failing them all. If I lost, they'd be torn apart, scattered to foster homes like I'd been. The gallery's murmurs grew, colleagues, investors, even strangers, questioning my motives. Was I a savior or a fool? Their father's return wasn't just a legal move, it was a specter, stirring memories of my own abandonment. The foster homes that taught me trust was a lie. I wasn't just fighting for them. I was fighting the boy I'd been, the man I'd become, cold and untouchable. The courtroom's air was thick, but I stood firm, knowing this was only the beginning of a war for their future. I faced the judge, my voice steady despite the storm in my chest. I'm not their father, but I'm here, I said. I'll fight for them. Karen backed me, her reports meticulous, hospital visits, school enrollments, the kids' slow trust in me. Social workers testified. Their words measured but warm, noting my commitment. The judge's eyes narrowed, probing for cracks in my resolve. I didn't flinch. I laid out my plan, a home, stability, a future where Maya could draw, Liam could dream, Chloe could sing, Noah could sleep without fear. Ethan's gaze met mine, not softened but searching, a boy waiting for another betrayal. I wasn't asking for guardianship. I was declaring war on a world that discarded kids like them, like me. The gallery's whispers faded, the room heavy with my vow. I wasn't just a tycoon. I was a man choosing to stand where others had walked away. If you've ever risked everything to stand up for what's right, knowing the world might call you a traitor, tell me in the comments. Is truth worth the fight, or should it stay buried? What would you have done? What does it mean to choose a battle you might lose? For those who have nothing left, the judge's gavel fell, granting me temporary guardianship, a brutal victory snatched from a system that favored blood over heart. I brought the kids, Maya, Liam, Chloe, Noah, Ethan, to my penthouse. Their worn bags swallowed by its sterile expanse, a stark contrast to the factory's rubble where I'd found them. Maya clutched her faded photo of their mother, her eyes wide with wonder and fear. Liam stared at the city's sprawl below, his questions already forming. Chloe and Noah clung to Ethan, whose gaze swept the space like a hawk, searching for hidden threats. My life, once a fortress of boardrooms and solitude, was no place for children, yet here they were, their presence a challenge to everything I'd built. I wasn't ready, my hands, adept at signing contracts, fumbled with their needs, my heart unpracticed in care. I set up rooms, sparse but warm, with beds, books, and soft blankets. I enrolled them in school. Hired tutors to bridge the gaps left by months of survival. Each step was a brick laid without mortar, unsteady but deliberate, a foundation for something I couldn't yet name. Ethan moved like a shadow, helping his siblings but keeping me at a distance, his silence a mirror to my own youth, wary, wounded, waiting for the world to betray. I saw myself in him. A boy who'd learned to trust only his own fists, who'd built walls to survive. The city's hum pulsed outside, indifferent to our struggle, but within these walls, I was forging a new path. Not just for them, but for the man I might become. Their needs, Maya's quiet hope, Liam's curiosity, Chloe's trembling songs, Noah's fears, were a fire kindling in the cold chambers of my soul. A spark I hadn't felt since a cop's kindness warmed a starving boy decades ago in a Chicago alley. I wasn't their father, not yet, but I was trying to be someone who stayed, who chose them over the empire I'd built. Each small act, setting a table, reading a story, was a step toward a home, a life where love, not loss, would define us. The first week was a tempest, a clash of our worlds in the penthouse's sterile glow. Chloe spilled juice on my pristine rug, a crimson stain I didn't curse but cleaned, her wide eyes apologetic. Noah woke screaming from nightmares, his cries piercing the night. Liam's questions, about stars, cars, the city below, echoed endlessly, testing my patience. Ethan rebelled quietly, skipping meals, ignoring curfews, his eyes daring me to fail them. At school, whispers dogged them, classmates sneering at the rich guy's charity cases, their words sharp as broken glass. Ethan snapped, shoving a bully, earning detention, his anger a flare of the fire I'd known as a boy, fighting a world that mocked my worth. I didn't scold him. I understood that need to shield, to strike back. A social worker, Ellen, visited, her notes praising my efforts but noting Ethan's distance. He's guarding them, she said. Earn his trust. The world outside judged too. Colleagues called my choice reckless, a betrayal of my empire. Investors grumbled about my focus. Social media buzzed with skepticism. He's just playing hero. Their scorn stung, echoing my foster days, labeled a burden, a problem. I'd won a court battle, but the war was far from over. The kids' wounds, Maya's quiet fears, Liam's restless mind. Chloe's trembling voice, Noah's night terrors, Ethan's defiance, were raw, and trust was a currency we hadn't yet earned. The city's lights glared, but our home, fragile as it was, held a flicker of hope. If you fought for what's right, only to be called a fool, tell me in the comments, were you chasing justice or proving something to a world that didn't care? What kept you standing when the doubts piled high? I sat Ethan down one night, the city's glow casting shadows across our living room. I'm not your enemy, I said, my voice low, steady, stripped of the tycoon's polish. I've been you, alone, angry, waiting for the catch. I'm not leaving. He scoffed, but his eyes flickered, a crack in his armor, a boy daring to hope. I pressed on, clumsy but earnest, cooking meals that burned, reading bedtime stories to Noah, listening to Maya's dreams of painting, laughing at Liam's terrible jokes, humming with Chloe's off-key songs. I learned their rhythms, Maya's love for sketching, Liam's obsession with stones, Chloe's fearless voice, Noah's fear of the dark. I wasn't perfect, my hands fumbling through their world. But I showed up, day after day, where their father hadn't. Each moment, tucking Noah in, praising Maya's art, answering Liam's questions, was a brick in a foundation, not just for them, but for me. The city's pulse throbbed outside, but here, we were building something real, a home where trust, though hard-won, was taking root. My past, once a shadow of foster homes and betrayal, guided me now, showing me how to be the man they needed, the man no one had been for me. We weren't a family yet, not fully, but we were becoming one, forged in the small acts of staying, of choosing them over the cold ambition I'd once lived for. How do you build a home when trust is the hardest stone to lay? The final hearing dawned. A Detroit courtroom packed with murmurs and sharp eyes, the air heavy with judgment. Their father had slithered back, his suit crisp but his soul threadbare, demanding custody not for love, but for the settlement money I'd locked away. I stood before the judge, Karen at my side, her folders thick with evidence of his betrayal, bank records showing his cash grab, police reports of his neglect, hospital logs charting their mother's fading pulse. Ethan sat with Maya, Liam, Chloe, and Noah, his face a mask of stone, but his hands trembled, betraying the boy beneath. The gallery buzzed, a mix of supporters and skeptics, some calling me a savior, others a meddler chasing headlines. I didn't care for their noise. This wasn't about my name, but there's Maya's quiet hope, Liam's wide-eyed questions, Chloe's soft hum, Noah's clinging fingers. Karen's voice cut through, laying bare the father's abandonment, my commitment, the kid's fragile progress. The social worker spoke, her words measured, detailing their new school, their small smiles. My late nights learning to be more than a tycoon. The judge's gaze was a blade, testing my resolve, but I stood firm, my heart a drumbeat for the family I'd chosen. Their father's lies hung like smoke, but the truth was heavier, rooted in the dust where I'd found them, in the home we were building. The room held its breath, waiting for justice to speak or falter. Ethan took the stand, his voice raw but steady, a boy forced to be a man too soon. He left us, he said, pointing at his father, his words a blade cutting through the room's hum. David didn't. He's there every day, even when I push him away. Maya followed, her voice small but clear, clutching her worn photo. I don't want to lose my family again. David's our home now. Their words cracked the courtroom open, exposing the raw truth, their father's greed, their desperate need for stability. Chloe's eyes shone with tears, Liam's hands fidgeted, Noah clung to Ethan, their silence louder than any testimony. I felt their trust, fragile as glass but real, a weight I carried gladly. The judge questioned me, her voice sharp, probing my motives. They're not a project, I said, my voice low, unyielding. They're my family, chosen, not bought. Karen presented more school reports, social worker notes, my penthouse now alive with their laughter. The gallery shifted. Some nodding, others whispering doubts, but I saw only the kids, their faces a map of hope and fear. Their father's lawyer stammered, his case crumbling under the weight of truth. The room stilled, the air thick with the moment's gravity, as we waited for the verdict that would bind us or break us. The judge's gavel fell, granting me permanent guardianship, her voice cutting through the courtroom's tension like a bell in fog. The gallery erupted, cheers from some, murmurs from others, their father storming out, his lies scattered like ash. Ethan looked at me, not smiling but nodding, a crack in his guarded wall. Maya hugged Liam, Chloe sang softly, Noah's grip on Ethan eased. I'd changed, and so had they. The world saw us now, not as a tycoon and his charity cases, but as a family forged in defiance of a broken system. Colleagues who doubted me shifted their stance. Strangers sent letters, moved by our story. The kids' scars remained, but they were healing, their trust in me a quiet victory. I wasn't their blood, but I was their home, built on choices, not chance. The courtroom's echo faded, but our bond stood firm, a testament to what we'd fought for. If you've ever had a moment where the world finally saw you, where truth broke through the noise, share it in the comments. I read every story, every fight, every spark that kept you going. Your voice matters, just like theirs did that day. The courtroom triumph faded under the weight of sleepless nights, my penthouse a hollow shell beneath Detroit's restless sky. I'd secured the kids, Maya, Liam, Chloe, Noah, Ethan, but victory didn't quiet the doubts that gnawed like rats in the dark. Could a man like me, forged in the cold fires of foster homes, mend their fractured lives? My past crept in. A specter of empty beds, slammed doors, faces that forgot me before I left. I'd learned to survive by sealing my heart, building an empire to bury that boy's pain. Now, facing Ethan's guarded stare, Maya's quiet fears, Liam's endless questions, Chloe's trembling songs, Noah's nighttime cries, I saw my own wounds reflected, raw, unhealed, whispering I'd fail them. Their small belongings sketches, rocks, sheet music, looked lost in my sterile wealth. a reminder of my own rootlessness. I wasn't a father, just a man grasping at a role I'd never known, fearing I'd become another name on their list of betrayals. The city's hum outside mocked my resolve, its lights flickering like eyes watching for my collapse. Their trust, fragile as glass, felt too heavy for my hands, yet I couldn't let it slip. I stood in the dark, their breathing soft, wondering if I could be enough, if I could heal what the world had broken in them, in me. I faced that fear one night, sitting with Ethan in the dim glow of our living room. The city's pulse a faint throb beyond the glass. I'm scared too, I confessed, my voice stripped bare. No trace of the tycoon's polish. Scared I'll let you down, like everyone else did. His eyes widened, caught off guard, then flicked away, but he muttered, "You're still here." That small concession was a crack in his fortress, a spark in the gloom. My fear wasn't just theirs, it was mine, rooted in a boy who'd slept in alleys, who'd learned trust was a trap. Ethan's silence mirrored my own walls, built from years of betrayal, foster parents, caseworkers, a world that turned its back. I wasn't their savior, just a man trying to be more than his scars. To prove I could stay where others fled. The city's lights burned cold, but in that moment, Ethan's words were a tether, pulling me from my own darkness. If you've ever felt alone in a fight, wondering if you're enough for those who need you, share it in the comments. What kept you standing when doubt tried to pull you under? How did you face the fear within? Each morning brought a renewed vow, not to judges, but to myself. I wasn't flawless, but I was theirs, Maya's artist, Liam's dreamer, Chloe's singer, Noah's protector, Ethan's anchor. I learned to laugh at Liam's bad puns, to braid Maya's hair with clumsy fingers, to soothe Noah's fears with stories, to hum along with Chloe's off-key tunes. Ethan began to share brief tales of their mother, then deeper wounds, his voice raw but opening. We were building something, not just a home, but a bond, each moment a brick laid with care. My past, once a chain, became a guide, showing me how to be the man they needed, the man no one had been for me. The city's glow flickered outside, but our home held a warmer light, alive with Maya's sketches. Liam's rocks, Chloe's songs, Noah's courage. I reaffirmed my choice, to carry their pain, to stand where others had walked away, to be their family, flaws and all. Our scars weren't gone, but they were softer, woven into a life not perfect but real, rooted in the dust we'd risen from. What do you find when you confront your deepest doubts and choose to stay anyway? The courtroom victory ignited a wildfire that tore through Detroit's concrete heart, our story too raw to stay silent. News vans swarmed my penthouse, their cameras glinting like predators' eyes. Reporters shouting labels, hero one moment, fraud the next. Social media erupted, hashtag Miller family scrawled across feeds, posts praising my heart or slicing it with scorn. Rich man buys a family. They jeered, their words sharp as the taunts of my foster days, when I was branded a burden, a throwaway. The kids bore the sting, Maya's sketches lay unfinished, her hands still. Liam's questions faded, his curiosity dimmed. Chloe's songs wavered, her voice uncertain. Noah clung tighter, his fears louder. Ethan felt it deepest, his pride wounded by schoolmate sneers, calling them charity cases. His temper flared. He punched a bully, his fist a spark of the fire I'd known as a boy, striking back at a world that saw me as less. I didn't scold him. I knew that need to shield, to fight a world that mocked your worth. Colleagues turned cold, their whispers branding my choice a reckless gamble, a betrayal of the empire I'd built. Investors recoiled, their trust in me fraying like worn thread. The city's pulse, once my strength, now mocked me, its lights flickering with judgment. The scrutiny wasn't just noise. It was a tempest, threatening to unravel the fragile bond we'd forged in the factory's dust. Maya's eyes held fear, Liam's spark dimmed, Chloe's melodies faltered, Noah's nightmares grew. Ethan's trust, so hard-earned, wavered, his gaze hardening as the world's voices tried to tear us apart. I stood in our home, the kids asleep, their breathing a faint rhythm against the city's hum. Feeling the weight of a fight I'd chosen but couldn't control. I wondered if I'd traded my legacy for a battle we might lose, if our family could withstand the world's relentless gaze. The city's glow was cold, but their presence, Maya's colors, Liam's rocks, Chloe's songs, Noah's courage, Ethan's strength was a fire, fragile but unyielding. If you faced judgment for doing what's right, tell me in the comments. How did you stand firm when the world tried to break you? What kept you fighting when the voices grew loud? Their father slunk back, a ghost with greedy eyes, filing an appeal to reclaim the kids, not for love, but for the settlement money I'd locked away. He took to talk shows, his voice slick as oil, twisting our story into a tale of a tycoon stealing his children. The public split. Some saw me as a beacon, others a thief, their comments flooding feeds with venom. He's exploiting them, they said. They belong with their real dad. Ethan withdrew, his walls rising like the factory's rusted beams, his silence a louder protest than any words. He's lying, he told me, voice trembling with rage and fear, his eyes searching mine for truth. Maya asked if we'd lose each other, her voice a fragile thread. Noah woke screaming, his nightmares fed by the world's noise. Liam's question stopped. Chloe's songs faded. Karen dug deeper, unearthing his criminal record, petty theft, unpaid debts, a trail of abandonment. But the damage was done. Doubt seeped into the kids. Into me, like rotten old wood. My past whispered I was no better, a man doomed to fail those who needed him, just as foster homes had failed me. The media's clamor was a blade, slicing at our fragile family, threatening to unravel the trust we'd built through shared meals and quiet nights. I fought back, Karen's evidence a shield, but the world's judgment was relentless. A tide pulling us under. I stood in the dark, the city's glow a cold echo of my old life, solitary, driven, empty, wondering if our bond could hold against the storm. The kids' faces, Maya's hope. Liam's curiosity, Chloe's voice, Noah's fears, Ethan's defiance, were my anchor, but the world's lies tested their weight. If you've faced lies that threaten to destroy what you've built, share it in the comments. What kept you fighting when the world believed the worst? How did you hold on to truth? I gathered the kids one night. Detroit's lights a faint pulse beyond our windows. We're not what they say, I told them, voice steady despite the ache in my chest. We're us, Maya's colors, Liam's rocks, Chloe's melodies, Noah's courage, Ethan's strength. Ethan nodded. Slow but sure, his eyes softening, a crack in his guarded heart. Karen crushed the appeal, their father's lies collapsing under evidence, arrests, debts, betrayal laid bare. The media storm faded. Headlines chasing new prey, but we'd changed. The world's scorn hadn't broken us, it forged us tighter, our scars a map of survival. Maya returned to her sketches, bold and vibrant. Liam's questions sparked anew. Chloe sang with fire. Noah slept easier, his grip loosening. Ethan spoke more, his voice less guarded, sharing tales of their mother. We weren't just a headline to be dissected. We were a family, battered but unbowed, stronger for the storm we'd weathered. The city outside kept its judgment, but in our home, we stood together. A unit carved from dust and defiance. The world's voices couldn't tear us apart. They pushed us closer, our bond a beacon in the dark. Maya's art, Liam's curiosity, Chloe's songs, Noah's courage. Ethan's strength, they were our truth, unyielding. If you've held fast against a world trying to unravel you, tell me in the comments, how did you find strength when the noise was deafening? What kept your family whole when the world tried to tear it apart? How do you hold fast when the world's voices try to tear your family apart? The tide of judgment began to turn. Not in screaming headlines, but in the quiet corners of our world, where the kids' school transformed from a gauntlet of sneers into a haven. Teachers saw beyond the charity case label. Recognizing Ethan's fierce loyalty as he guarded his siblings, Maya's delicate sketches that bloomed with color, Liam's relentless curiosity about the world's workings. Chloe's trembling melodies that grew bolder, Noah's shy courage as he stepped out of Ethan's shadow. A math teacher lingered after class, guiding Ethan through equations with a patience that chipped at his distrust. Parents, once wary, sent clothes, books, homemade meals, small gestures that felt like lifelines in a city that had once turned its back. A local charity stepped forward, offering tutors, art supplies, a soccer program where Liam found joy. His laughter a new sound on the field. I watched Ethan score his first goal, his grin a rare break in his armor, a moment brighter than any courtroom win. Maya's drawings hung in the school hall. Their vibrant hues a defiance of the gray walls. Chloe joined a choir, her voice soaring above past taunts, while Noah made a friend, his smile a quiet triumph. The community wasn't just a backdrop. It was a net, catching us when we faltered, weaving a web of care around kids who'd known only loss. I'd built skyscrapers, but these people, strangers turned allies, were building something stronger. A foundation of belonging. Their support didn't erase the scars, Ethan's wariness, Maya's fears, Liam's doubts, Chloe's hesitations, Noah's nightmares, but it softened them, showing us we weren't alone. The city's pulse, once cold and indifferent, now carried their warmth, a reminder that family extends beyond walls, beyond blood. We weren't just surviving, we were growing. Rooted in the care of others, our home a beacon in Detroit's dusk. If you found strength in unexpected places, tell me in the comments. How did a community lift you when you thought you'd fall? What does it mean to find allies in a world that once judged you? I reached out, mending frayed ties with colleagues who'd called my choice a reckless whim. They saw the kids thriving, Maya's art winning a school contest, her colors bold, Liam's rock collection earning a science fair nod, his curiosity unquenched, Chloe's choir performances drawing crowds. Her voice fearless, Noah's growing confidence, his laughter new, Ethan's soccer skills, his guard easing. They saw me, too. No longer the cold tycoon, but a man reshaped by 5 kids found in a factory's rubble. Karen, my lawyer, became more than a hired blade. She joined us for dinners, her sharp wit softening into warmth, her stories blending with ours. Ellen, the social worker, shared her own battles, her weathered kindness a mirror to the fleeting mercies of my youth. A cop's blanket, a meal in an alley. We hosted a barbecue on the penthouse's rooftop, the kids laughing as neighbors mingled, their faces bright with belonging. Ethan grilled burgers, his shoulders relaxed, his eyes meeting mine without suspicion for the first time. Liam ran with other kids, Maya showed her sketches, Chloe sang, Noah played without fear. The community's embrace wasn't just aid. It was a foundation, reinforcing the home we'd built through dust and defiance. We weren't just surviving, we were thriving, our scars softened by the hands that reached out. The city's skyline loomed, its steel towers cold, but here, among these people, we found a strength I'd never known in boardrooms or contracts. They weren't just neighbors, they were kin. Their belief in us a fire against the dark, showing us that family grows where love takes root, not blood. If you've been lifted by others when you couldn't stand alone, share it in the comments. Who were your unexpected allies? How did they change your fight? That community became our shield, their faith in us a flame against Detroit's cold. When a reporter asked Ethan about me, he paused, then said, "He's not perfect, but he's ours." His words, raw and unpolished, carried us, a testament to the bond we'd forged through pain and choice. Maya's art, vibrant and bold, hung in school halls, inspiring young creators. Liam's questions, relentless and bright, sparked science clubs, his rocks a symbol of curiosity unbroken. Chloe's songs, once hesitant, now soared in community halls, drawing listeners who saw her strength. Noah's quiet courage, his smile of victory, touched hearts, his friends a new joy. Ethan's soccer games drew cheers, his teammates a new tribe. Ellen's reports to the court glowed, noting the kids' progress, Maya's confidence, Liam's spark, Chloe's voice, Noah's ease, Ethan's trust, and my transformation. No longer a tycoon, but a father. Neighbors rallied, offering time, resources, belief, their hands building us back when we faltered. We'd carved a home from dust, but this community strengthened it, showing us we didn't have to fight alone. Their support wasn't charity. It was a mirror reflecting our resilience, our choice to stand together. The city's hum faded, drowned by the warmth of voices. Hands, hearts that held us up. We weren't just a family. We were part of something larger, a web of care that stretched beyond our walls, proving that love, not blood, builds what lasts. If you found strength in a community's embrace, tell me in the comments, how did others help you rise? What does it mean to be part of something bigger than yourself? What does it mean to find strength not just in family, but in the people who choose to stand with you? Our story broke free, a spark leaping from Detroit's ashes, catching in the city's restless air. News crews swarmed my penthouse, their lenses glinting like wolves in the dusk, hungry for the tale of a tycoon turned father. Articles multiplied, from local papers to national spreads. Hashtag Miller family etched across social media like graffiti on rusted steel. Some posts crowned me a saint, others branded me a fraud. A rich man playing at redemption for clout. Strangers poured out their own truths, orphans, foster kids, survivors of betrayal. Each comment a thread in a vast tapestry of pain and hope. The kids saw it too, Maya read letters from artists moved by her vibrant sketches, her colors a beacon for young creators. Liam found forums buzzing about his rock collection, sparking debates on geology and grit. Chloe's choir videos went viral, her voice a defiant cry that resonated beyond our walls. Noah's shy smile, captured in a documentary clip, touched hearts. His courage a quiet triumph. Ethan's blog posts, raw and unfiltered, drew readers who'd known abandonment, their replies echoing our scars. The attention wasn't just clamor, it was a mirror, reflecting our fight to a world that both cheered and scorned. Donations arrived, books, clothes, scholarships, hands reaching through the screen to lift us. But not all voices were kind. Some called the kids props, me a manipulator chasing fame. Their venom stung, a reminder of my foster days, labeled a burden, a nobody. The city's pulse throbbed outside, its lights flickering with judgment, but our home held firm, warmed by the kids' resilience. Maya's art, Liam's curiosity, Chloe's songs, Noah's bravery, Ethan's strength. Their growth was our answer to the hate, a testament to love over loss. If you've spoken your truth and faced a world split between praise and venom, tell me in the comments. Why do we tear down those who dare to stand up? How did you rise above the noise? Justice moved, slow but unyielding, like a river carving through stone. The courts upheld my guardianship. Their father's appeal buried under Karen's ironclad evidence. Bank records, arrest logs, a trail of debts and desertion. Beyond the courtroom, our story rippled outward. A call answered by the city's heart. Schools invited me to speak, not as a mobile but as a man reshaped by 5 kids in a factory's ruins. I stood before auditoriums, sharing how Maya's sketches, Liam's questions, Chloe's melodies, Noah's courage, Ethan's defiance had remade my soul. Ethan joined me once, his voice steady but raw, telling his truth, a foster kid turned son. His words sparking nods in the crowd. Maya's art won city contests, her colors bold against gray walls, inspiring young artists. Liam's science projects ignited school fairs, his rocks a symbol of curiosity unbroken. Chloe's songs echoed in community halls, drawing listeners who saw her strength. Noah's quiet resilience, his smile of victory, moved strangers to tears. Our home became a beacon, not just for us but for others who saw their own pain in ours, who found courage to fight for their own families. Support grew. Tutors, mentors, neighbors offering time. Resources, belief. The community that once judged now rallied, their hands lifting us higher than my towers ever could. Our story wasn't just ours, it was a movement, inspiring those who'd walked through darkness to seek light. The city's hum carried their voices, a chorus of second chances, proving that family, chosen and fierce, could reshape more than just us. It could spark change across a city, a world. If you've seen a story inspire others to rise, share it in the comments. How did it change you? What spark did it ignite in your fight? I held no grudge against their father, nor the skeptics who sneered. They were shadows of a broken world, like I'd been, chasing their own ghosts. Hate was a chain I refused to wear. I focused on the kids, Ethan's growing ease, his blog posts reaching thousands, Maya's bold sketches, now framed in galleries, Liam's endless questions, sparking school programs, Chloe's fearless voice, filling halls, Noah's newfound courage, his laughter and new song. We'd won, not by vengeance but by building something stronger, love. Chosen and unyielding. The world's judgment faded, its noise drowned by our shared meals, our laughter, our quiet nights. We didn't need to fight the haters, we needed to live, to show what family could be when forged in heart, not blood. Their father was a specter, powerless against our bond. Maya's colors, Liam's rocks, Chloe's melodies, Noah's bravery, Ethan's strength. The city's lights burned outside, but our home glowed brighter, a sanctuary built on choice, not chance. We carried no hate, only the weight of what we built, a life worth fighting for. A legacy of love over loss. The world watched, some with awe, others with envy, but their gaze fueled us, proving our story could inspire beyond our walls. If you've let go of hate to build something new, tell me in the comments. What did you create from your pain? How did you find peace in a world that tried to break you? What do you carry when you let go of hate and choose to build instead? Their father's shadow slunk back, a vengeful ghost wielding a desperate lawsuit, claiming emotional distress to reclaim the children he'd abandoned. The filing was a brittle ploy, but its weight pressed against our fragile peace, stirring dread in the penthouse we'd made a home. Ethan's gaze darkened, his old mistrust creeping forth like rust on iron, his shoulders tense as he watched his siblings, Maya, Liam, Chloe, Noah, for signs of fracture. Maya's small hand found mine, her voice a trembling thread. "Will we lose you?" Her words carved into me, sharper than any legal threat, echoing my own boyhood terror of being ripped from the few who'd shown me kindness. Liam's curious chatter fell silent. Chloe's melodies wavered. Noah's nightmares clawed him awake, his cries piercing our quiet nights. The city's pulse throbbed outside, its neon glow mocking the warmth we'd built within these walls. Their father's move wasn't just a court maneuver. It was a specter, haunting the family we'd forged in the factory's dust. I saw Ethan's walls rise, his protectiveness a shield against a world that had betrayed him before. My own past whispered, foster homes, cold nights. The ache of being unwanted, warning I might fail them, that this fight could unravel everything. The lawsuit's shadow loomed, threatening to tear us apart, to scatter the kids like ash into a system that cared nothing for their bond. I stood in our home, the kids asleep, their breathing soft against the city's hum, and felt the weight of a battle I'd chosen, knowing one misstep could cost us everything. If you've ever faced a threat that could destroy what you've built, tell me in the comments. How did you hold on when the past came knocking? I faced their father in court, his eyes hollow, his suit ill-fitting, his lies thinner than the Detroit air. Karen, my lawyer, dismantled his case with surgical precision, bank records, arrest logs, a trail of debts and desertion. His claim of distress was a farce, a greedy grab for the settlement I'd frozen. Ethan sat in the gallery, his stare ablaze, not at me, but at the man who'd left them to starve. "He's nothing to us," he whispered, his voice raw, trembling with rage and fear. Maya gripped my hand. Liam fidgeted. Chloe's eyes shone with unshed tears. Noah clung to Ethan's side. The judge's gaze was stern, her questions probing my resolve. I answered steady, my voice a low drum. "I'm their family now, not him." Karen's evidence was ironclad, but the real fight was in Ethan's silence, Maya's fear, the younger one's fragile trust. Their father's lawyer stammered, his case crumbling like the factory's walls. The courtroom's air was thick, the gallery's murmurs a distant storm. I wasn't just fighting for guardianship. I was fighting a world that discarded kids like them, like me, a boy shuffled through foster homes, taught to trust no one. This wasn't about law, it was about love. About proving I'd stay where their father hadn't. Ethan's testimony came, brief but searing. "You left us. David didn't." His words hung, heavy as truth, and I felt their trust, brittle but real, anchoring me. If you've ever had to face a past that threatens to steal your future, share it below. What gave you the strength to stand firm? The judge's ruling came. A quiet thunder dismissing their father's suit. He slunk out, defeated, his shadow fading like smoke in the Detroit dawn. The courtroom stilled, no cheers, just the soft exhale of relief. Ethan met my eyes, his nod small but heavy, a crack in his guarded heart. Maya smiled. Liam asked questions again. Chloe hummed. Noah's grip loosened. We won. Not with fanfare, but with the steady hum of our shared life. Dinners, laughter, bedtime stories. The threat was gone, not in a blaze but in the quiet of our home, where we sat together, eating, talking, being. Their father's last grasp had failed, his lies exposed, his greed no match for our bond. I looked at the kids, their faces no longer gaunt but alive, Maya's sketches, Liam's rocks. Chloe's songs, Noah's courage, Ethan's strength. We'd faced the worst, not unscathed but stronger, our scars a map of survival. The city's lights flickered outside, but our home glowed. A sanctuary built on choice, not chance. Victory wasn't loud. It was us, together, unbroken. If you've ever won a fight quietly, with no one watching but those you love, tell me in the comments. What does triumph feel like when it's just you and your family, holding fast? What does victory look like when it's built on love, not vengeance, and shared only with those who matter most? The kids became my salvation, their presence a balm on wounds I'd carried since boyhood. Maya's laughter, bright and unburdened, filled the penthouse, chasing shadows from corners where my past once lurked. Liam's endless questions about stars and stones sparked a curiosity I'd lost in foster homes, where wonder was a luxury I couldn't afford. Chloe's off-key songs, bold and unapologetic, stirred a warmth I hadn't known since a cop's fleeting kindness decades ago. Noah's trust, his small hand in mine, quieted the nightmares of a boy who'd slept in alleys. Ethan, once a fortress of distrust, began to soften, his stories of their mother weaving a bridge between us. Karen, the lawyer, and Ellen, the social worker, were more than allies, they were kin, their faith in me a mirror to the man I was becoming. They sat with us at dinners, their laughter blending with the kids, building a family not of blood but of choice. The city's hum outside was distant, its cold pulse no match for the life we'd forged. My scars, once raw, began to heal. Not because the pain was gone, but because I wasn't alone anymore. The kids' resilience, their refusal to break, taught me to mend my own brokenness, to be more than a survivor. They weren't just my responsibility, they were my redemption, their light guiding me through the dark of my own history, showing me what it meant to love and be loved in return. Forgiveness was a hard road, paved with the dust of my past and theirs. I forgave myself for the boy I'd been, scared, angry, building walls to survive a world that didn't want me. I forgave the man I'd become, cold and driven, chasing towers to escape that boy's pain. I forgave their father, not for his sake but for ours, his betrayal a shadow we refused to carry. Holding anger was a cage, letting go was freedom, a choice to live unburdened. Ethan and I talked late one night, his voice low, sharing memories of their mother's warmth. Her loss a wound we both bore. He spoke of her cooking, her laughter, and I shared my own losses, a mother gone too soon, a childhood of empty rooms. We grieved together. Not as guardian and ward, but as family, our pain a thread binding us closer. Maya drew her mother's face. Liam asked if she'd be proud. Chloe sang her favorite lullaby. Noah listened. His fears quieter now. The penthouse, once sterile, held our shared healing. Each moment, dinners, stories, laughter, a step toward wholeness. I wasn't perfect, but I was theirs, and they were mine. Our scars not erased, but softened by the choice to forgive, to build something new from the ruins of what we'd lost. A single photo became our emblem, Maya's faded picture of their mother. Now framed in our living room, its edges worn, but its heart intact. It wasn't just their past, it was our present, a testament to what we'd built through the dust and pain. Hung on the wall, surrounded by Maya's new sketches, Liam's rocks, Chloe's sheet music, Noah's small drawings, it stood as a symbol of our family, not born of blood but of choice. Forged in the factory's rubble and cemented in courtrooms. Each glance at it reminded me of the kids' resilience, their refusal to be defined by loss. Ethan's nod when he saw it framed. Maya's shy smile, Liam's proud chatter, Chloe's soft hum, Noah's gentle touch. They spoke of healing, of a home where pain was acknowledged but not sovereign. The city's lights flickered outside, but our home glowed with the warmth of shared survival. We were a family, not perfect but real, our bond a beacon for anyone who'd ever lost and loved again. If you found healing in something small, a photo, a memory, a moment, share it in the comments. How did you rebuild from your broken places? Your story might light someone else's way. What does healing look like when it's woven from the threads of love and choice? Our life found a steady rhythm, a pulse carved from Detroit's relentless sprawl, where the penthouse, once a cold monument to my ambition, now thrummed with the kids' presence. Maya's laughter rang as she painted murals across our walls, vibrant colors spilling like hope over the sterile white. Liam's chatter about stars, stones, and the city's underbelly sparked debates at breakfast, his curiosity a flame I'd lost in foster homes where wonder was a luxury. Chloe's melodies, bold and unapologetic, echoed through the halls, her voice a defiance of the silence that once cloaked her fears. Noah's courage grew, his sleep untroubled by nightmares, his small hand no longer clinging in terror. Ethan found his place on the soccer field, his fierce energy channeled into swift kicks, his rare grins brighter than any courtroom triumph. I was no longer just David Miller, the tycoon who bent cities to his will. I was David, their father, my days shaped by their dreams, their needs, their quiet victories. We built routines, mornings where Liam's questions turned cereal into science, evenings where Maya's sketches adorned our walls beside Chloe's sheet music. Nights where Noah's bedtime stories became my refuge. Ethan's guarded heart softened, his nods a silent pact, his stories of their mother a bridge between us. The city's skyline loomed outside, its neon glow a faint echo of my old life, cold, solitary, driven by ambition alone. My past, foster homes, betrayal, a boy alone in alleys, became a foundation, teaching me to be the man they needed. The man no one had been for me. We weren't just surviving. We were thriving, our scars a map of resilience, our bond a testament to choice over blood. Each day was a rebirth, a step away from the factory's rubble, toward a life where love, not loss, defined us. Maya's art, Liam's questions, Chloe's songs, Noah's bravery, Ethan's strength, they were my redemption. A new existence carved from the ashes of what we'd overcome. The penthouse, once a sterile cage, now glowed with their presence, a home where hope held sway. Karen and Ellen, our lawyer and social worker, joined our dinners, their laughter blending with the kids, their faith in us a mirror to the family we'd built. The city's hum was distant, its cold pulse no match for the warmth within our walls, a sanctuary forged in dust, sustained by love. If you found a new beginning in the ruins of your past, tell me in the comments. What rebuilt your world? How did you rise from your own ashes? Our story broke free, a spark igniting fires beyond our walls, spreading through Detroit's gray heart and beyond. I spoke at shelters, schools, community halls, not as a mogul but as a man remade by 5 kids found in a factory's ruins. My words carried their truth, Maya's vibrant sketches, Liam's relentless curiosity, Chloe's soaring melodies, Noah's quiet courage, Ethan's fierce loyalty, showing how love could rebuild what loss had shattered. Ethan launched a blog, raw and unflinching, sharing his journey from foster kid to son, his posts reaching thousands who'd known abandonment. Readers responded, their stories echoing ours, orphans, runaways, survivors finding hope in his voice. Their comments a chorus of shared pain and resilience. Maya's art inspired local galleries, her colors a beacon for young creators, her city contest when drawing crowds to her bold visions. Liam's science projects sparked school programs, his rock collection a symbol of curiosity uncrushed, his fair awards igniting debates among peers. Chloe's choir performances filled community halls, her voice a thread of defiance that drew listeners who saw her strength. Noah's growing confidence, his smile of victory, touched hearts, his friendships a new joy. Our home became a lighthouse, not just for us, but for strangers who saw their own scars in ours, who found courage to fight for their own families. The community that once judged now rallied. Tutors, mentors, neighbors offering time, resources, belief. They weren't just allies, they were kin, their hands lifting us higher than my towers ever could. Our story wasn't ours alone. It was a movement, a call answered by those who'd walked through darkness and sought light. Social media amplified it. Hashtag Miller Family trending, posts sharing our journey, sparking others to share theirs. Schools adopted our story in classes. Charities built programs inspired by the kids' resilience. The city's hum carried their voices, a chorus of second chances, proving that family, chosen and fierce, could change more than just us. It could reshape a city, a world. If you've seen a story spark change, share it in the comments. How did it move you? What fire did it kindle in your own fight? We stood in our backyard, the kids chasing each other under the Detroit dusk, their laughter a melody against the city's drone. Maya's sketches fluttered on a clothesline, vibrant and bold. Liam's rocks lined the path, each a story of his curiosity. Chloe's voice rose in a playful tune, fearless. Noah ran without fear, his courage a quiet triumph. Ethan kicked a soccer ball, his grin wide, unguarded. I looked at them, my heart full, and said, family isn't blood. It's us, choosing each other every day. That truth, born in a factory's dust, was our strength, our legacy. Our story, shared through Ethan's blog, my talks, the kids' lives, Maya's art, Liam's projects, Chloe's songs, Noah's bravery. Ethan's words inspired others to rise from their own ruins. Ethan's posts reached thousands, his raw honesty a beacon for foster kids, survivors, anyone who'd felt discarded. Maya's gallery shows drew young artists, Liam's science fairs inspired peers, Chloe's performances filled halls, Noah's smile warmed strangers. The community, neighbors, teachers, strangers joined us. Their support a web of care that held us up. We built a home, but they built us back, showing us we didn't have to fight alone. If you've stood up from your darkest place, built something new from loss, share your story in the comments. Your words might be the spark someone needs to keep going. Thank you for following our journey. Subscribe, share, support our channel. We're grateful for every voice that joins us, every heart that sees ours. Stay with us. This is just the beginning of what we'll build together. Family is choice, I told them. And as the city's lights flickered, our home glowed, a beacon of love forged in dust, unyielding, eternal, a symbol for anyone who's fought to belong, to rise, to love despite the world's weight. The kids' laughter, their light, was our answer to the dark, a promise that we'd keep building, keep choosing each other, no matter what came.